We are at the 2011 Busan KOTESOL conference here at Busan University of Foreign Studies, speaking with invited speaker Barbara Hoskins Sakamoto.
Hi, thanks.
Welcome to Busan.
I'm happy to be here. This is
Have you been here before?
decades ago. I think I was here probably about 20 years ago or so. It's grown up a lot.
Now, your presentation today was Little Tech for Big Results, right?
Yes.
Now, you introduced yourself as not being tech savvy,
That's true.
yet, and I watched an interview with you in 2009 with, I think, Darren Elliott.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And you were saying that technology is great for professional development, but you're really not able to use it in the classroom.
Right.
Yet today, you presented all sorts of examples where
Right.
technology could be used in a classroom for young learners. What happened?
Well, actually, what I meant about not being able to use technology very much was that most of the classrooms I teach in Japan don't have internet access, or they don't have computers. So there's a limit to what you can do if you can't actually get online. What's happened since 2009 is, with the help of webheads, I've found more ways to bring in technology without actually having access to the internet. So that's been the big change, is just more experience.
Let's drill down there a little bit on both fronts. First of all, what are the webheads?
The webheads are the most amazing group of teachers you would ever find, like you, who seem to be willing to spend all of their free time helping teachers like me learn how to use online tools for professional development and teaching.
Webheads.info, webheadsinaction.org. And I always have that same reaction when someone asks me, what are the webheads? It's first this truly global group of amazing teachers. And, you know, there's lots of these new professional development communities of practice forming. They were pioneers, and there's something really special about.
Well, actually, the webheads were networking way before it was cool. I mean, when I looked back on, I'd never heard of them until I did the TESOL Electronic Village Online in 2009, I guess it was. And that was the first thing. You know, before that, I had used like Skype to talk to my family, and I'd used email, and I'd used Google Documents to write books, but I never used the internet to meet people I didn't already know. And I took the TESOL Evo because I wanted to remind myself what it felt like to be a beginner. And I don't do much online, so that was a good way to feel like a beginner. But the webheads that I met had been doing what is now trendy, creating networks and helping teachers and collaborating and sharing, way before it was easy to do.
And they're always pushing the envelope. I mean, they're
Absolutely.
Whatever the latest tool is, they're playing with it. They're taking it out for a spin. In your presentation, you showed an example of a voice thread where your students were able to practice the alphabet, and then students and classes from other parts of the globe participated. How does that affect the class? How do the students react to the fact that their work has an audience and that they're connecting with other learners elsewhere?
It makes it real in a way that I can't do on my own. They can use English to communicate with me, but they also know that they can use Japanese with me. And if it's just in our classroom, then it's something they do 1 hour a week, and it's the equivalent of having a piano class or studying kendo or something like that. There's no connection to a greater purpose, if you will. There's no meaning attached to it. And they become very good at it, perhaps, but it doesn't develop a value with them, where connecting with students around the world helps them to feel like they're part of the larger world as well, which is a very important thing, I think.
And I think that's powerful for students. I think it's also powerful for us educators.
Oh, absolutely.
As the webheads have shown us both. Yet, getting back to the webheads, if you look at the webhead membership, a lot of North Americans, a lot of Europeans,
Yes.
Middle Eastern,
Yes.
South American, not as much Asian, especially when you consider how much language learning is happening in Asia.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a surprise.
Why do you think that is? And I don't think it's unique to the webheads. I mean, I think there's this whole world of collaborative professional development happening, and you have great organizations like KOTESOL and JOLT, and it sort of happens more in a closed environment. Any thoughts?
Well, if I had the answer, I would have everybody in Asia online. So no, I don't have the answer to that one. What I have noticed in talking with students and teachers, there's still, the idea of connecting with other teachers is still a relatively new idea, even face-to-face connection. And even groups as wonderful as KOTESOL or JOLT or TESOL or IATEFL, the number of teachers in the field versus the number of teachers who are members of a professional organization, there's a big gap. So if you look at that ratio, then the number of teachers who are connected online should be even smaller. But I think we're perhaps at a tipping point. And the tipping point is probably Twitter. Because now it's, well, Twitter or Facebook, because now it's very easy for teachers to connect online, and they feel safe because they can use a username.
Now, Twitter is one of those things that a lot of people who aren't into Twitter look at and say, I don't get it.
Oh, it's absolutely. It's one of those things that if you've never used it, you really don't see the point.
All right, sell us on Twitter. Why,
Okay.
as a person and as an educator, should I be interested in Twitter?
Because, one, if you're on Twitter, then you have literally a teacher's lounge that is global. There is always somebody awake somewhere in the world, and they are on Twitter. So if you're having if you want to bounce ideas off of somebody for a class, somebody is there. If you want to share what your class is doing, somebody is there. If you want to get comments on your students' blogs, or you want to get, like, I want people on my alphabet book, Twitter is the easy way to reach thousands of teachers with one click. It's the easiest introduction to online tools or professional development, because the technology is the level of sending a text message, which everybody can do. And then because it's 24 hours, it's easy access. People can use their telephones usually to participate. And now we've got wonderful chats, like the one I mentioned in my presentation, the ELT
Can you tell us a little bit about the
Sure.
ELT chat?
ELT chat is a global chat with teachers who teach English as a foreign language. So that makes us a little different from some of the other chats. The teachers who participate come from virtually every country in the world, and we meet virtually on Twitter, because that's the easiest for everyone, every Wednesday. And we have one, everything's based on London time, so depending on what time it is in London. Right now, the early chat is at 8 p.m. in Korea. And then again, when London changes its time again, it'll be at 9 p.m. But there's a topic that's voted on by the members, and then we have a 1-hour chat on that topic. What makes it really valuable for teachers, I think, is not just the chat, which is a wonderful, like, sparks. It's not an in-depth conversation because, Twitter has 140 characters per message. But it's a great way to just share opinions, get ideas, and then the tweets are saved as a transcript, and then there's a summary done, which makes it a wonderful archive. So now if I want to learn something about teaching for exams, for example, or teaching without books, or whatever it is, I can look up to see, was there a chat about it, and I can access that information even after.
And I think that's one of the key ingredients to Twitter that makes it work, is you can filter. I think a lot of people get on and they're overwhelmed by this flood of what people had for lunch. And that's part of it. And there's sort of a nice way to connect with people on a personal level if you want.
Yeah.
But there are also ways that you can create lists, and you can use hashtags and things like
absolutely.
that. And there are tips of the trade that
Well, it's
allow you to
definitely
find
one of
what you're
those
looking
things.
for.
It's who your friends are. It's the same thing with any group that you belong to. If you only follow celebrities, or if you only follow people who are talking about what they had for lunch, then you're going to think it's a pretty stupid tool because you don't care. But if you follow teachers, then teachers are very cool people, they talk about things you're interested in. They have the same problems you do, and it makes you feel connected. And I think particularly...
Uh-oh.
Oops.
and you can follow everyone. If you want the gossip, I mean, you can follow everyone you want, and then using tools like TweetDeck,
Yes.
you can say, okay, well, here's my little gossip column if I want to tune into
Yeah.
that. Here's the English
Oh, I do. I have
ELT people.
I have my Second Life column, and I have my Jolt column, and I have my ELT chat column. So I do filter.
So you are very tuned into this amazing era of professional development where we've got these communities of practice going on, and there's so much open content and collaboration. Yet you also are one of the co-authors of one of the preeminent textbooks produced by a proprietary publisher. You are a co-author of Let's Go.
Proprietary. Okay.
I mean, Let's Go is a commercial product.
Yes, it is.
If you ask anyone to name a young learner textbook,
Yes.
Let's Go is probably going to be one of the first names. That
I
comes.
hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
Yeah, we've been around
Microsoft of
actually 20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
How do you, and I should mention, a few weeks ago in Daejeon, Jason Renshaw presented the plenary on the future
of ELT course books.
And his thinking was, publishing is not going to die, but it's on its way out. We're really going to digital media, and the real key thing is this collaborative open content future. What are your thoughts on that, having a foot in both worlds?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I don't know anyone who picks up a course book and says, this is the first page, look at the picture, let's do this. Most of the teachers that I know adapt in some way. Either, even if they don't use any digital media, which the majority of young learners teachers don't. I mean, if you look at access, there are a lot of places where Let's Go is sold where having a course book is actually pretty high tech. So I don't think that we're in any danger of becoming obsolete anytime soon. Particularly also, even in the areas where they do have access to digital, and I mean, Let's Go itself has a little CD-ROM in the back now, but children love to have a course book to hold. It makes the English real. It's something they can own. There's pride of accomplishment of being able to show we've done this much. And if everything is open to where there's a perception, if you will, that there's no curriculum, there's no direction, there's no steps, then you have some problems with student perception, if you will. So I think that there's a balance between the two, and I do think that people will be using digital tools to adapt their textbooks or adapt their course books or to supplement or to expand. I mean, I use Let's Go in my classes, and I do all of those additional activities to reinforce the language.
Do you see Oxford or other publishers making an effort to adapt not just to the digital realities, but to this new kind of open content, collaborative world?
I do, actually. I think most of the publishers are looking very closely at what's happening online to figure out how best to be involved with it. Because, of course, they have to find a balance between how much can we give away without losing so much profit that we can't produce things where we have to pay people for content. It's not so different than what newspapers and magazines have gone through as well. So now the cost of being in the market today, you have to have online things. In Let's Go's case, the games on the CD-ROM are online free. The reproducibles in the back of the teacher's book are online free. And hopefully that attracts teachers to use them with their classes.
So let's say you're a teacher in that can't afford to buy textbooks.
Yes.
Can you go onto the Oxford site and register for free and download a lot of the content?
You can't download the content so much. I mean, you can download those reproducibles, which match just about any other course book. I mean, one of the points about young learners classes is we cover a lot of the same material. You want to cover talking about things, describing things, introducing family, talking about animals. There's a lot of similar content. So yeah, it's not just OUP. I think every publisher has things that are available that teachers can access for free. And they're just hoping to keep a balance to where it makes people want to buy the books as opposed to just getting the free content.
Right, and I think, there are a lot of markets like Japan and Korea where there is disposable income. People are willing to spend a lot of money on education, and they want the premium content.
Right, absolutely. And there are places where teachers don't have access to any of the materials, and they do a fine job without anything at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really the skill of the teacher more than it is the tools that they have in hand.
So you've been in this world for a while. An experienced educator and textbook producer.
I've been here for a while too. Longer than
I should say. It's the end of the conference.
I want to admit, anyway.
And you still seem like a really passionate educator.
Yes.
What has been the key for you to stay interested in your job and passionate? And what's ahead for you? Where do your future passions lie?
Well, I am lucky enough to be able to do something that I love. And even luckier that I actually get paid to do it. I never really wanted to do anything except be a teacher, so I'm kind of lucky that it worked out. I really didn't have a backup plan. So I get to hang around kids, and I get to hang around teachers, and when I see how much they put into what they do, it kind of fires me up too. It's a humbling position that I'm in quite often because, as you mentioned, teachers who don't have access to a lot, or when I am in South America and teachers drive from the Amazon to come listen to a workshop, or when I'm in Thailand and they're driving 200 kilometers on their own money on their only day off, to come to a conference like this in Busan. It's humbling, and you want to make sure you've got something to offer in return. Future. I have no clue.
That's an excellent plan. Could you kind of go with the flow?
That's worked for me so far.
All right. Well, Barbara, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure meeting you face to face finally.
Same here.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here in Busan, and we will look forward to staying tuned online.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks.
Bye.